Welcome to The Debate. It is the final week of February 2026. And, if you thought the history books were securely closed on the Money Team era, you were profoundly mistaken. A story broke earlier this week that has absolutely rattled the combat sports ecosystem, turning everything we thought we knew about retirement and boxing upside down. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is coming back.
Right, and we need to be very clear right off the top here. We aren't talking about him, dancing around a ring in Dubai with a YouTuber or a kickboxer who isn't allowed to throw kicks. This is a full-fledged unretirement, a return to the professional ranks for a sanctioned bout.
Which I am absolutely thrilled about, by the way.
Well, it's a development that forces a very uncomfortable conversation. At what point does a glorious victory lap transform into a desperate scramble for liquidity?
And that is the central question we are tackling today. Floyd Mayweather, who turned 49 years old literally yesterday, has announced a massive two-part return to the ring. First, an exhibition against Mike Tyson this spring, which is a surreal headline on its own, and then the main event, a professional sanctioned rematch against Manny Pacquiao on September 19th, 2026.
It's the context that makes this so massive, though. They are inaugurating the Sphere in Las Vegas for boxing. The whole package is being streamed live on Netflix. It is high-tech, high stakes, and frankly, I think it's incredibly high risk.
I look at this announcement and I see a business mastermind redefining the landscape one last time. This is Mayweather leveraging the biggest tech platforms, Netflix and the Sphere, to create a global spectacle that literally no active fighter could possibly replicate. It is a brilliant legacy cementing move.
And I look at the exact same set of facts, and I see a financial tragedy unfolding in slow motion. I believe the evidence, specifically the legal and financial filings floating around right now, suggest this isn't about legacy at all. It's about solvency. It's about a man who has, to quote the streets, tricked off a billion-dollar fortune and is now being forced back into the line of fire.
Well, let's get right into it. I am taking the position that this is a highly calculated move by a boxing genius. Floyd Mayweather is doing what he has always done, which is capitalizing on market shifts. We have seen the death of traditional cable pay-per-view and the massive rise of streaming giants. Floyd isn't just returning to fight. He is returning to inaugurate the streaming era of boxing. He stated explicitly regarding his new deal with CSI Sports, quote, "No one will generate a bigger gate, have a larger global broadcast audience, and generate more money," end quote. That sounds like total confidence to me, not desperation. He's 50-0. He stayed very active with his exhibitions. He believes he still has what it takes to set more records. This is simply a businessman maximizing his primary asset, which is himself, while the physical window is still somewhat open.
See, I think you are completely buying the press release version of events. You have to look at the subtext here. A return to sanctioned professional fighting at age 49 is fundamentally illogical for a wealthy man who prioritizes his health. Unless, of course, the alternative, meaning financial ruin, is scarier than the fight itself.
That is a massive leap.
It really isn't, though, and I'm not the only one reading the tea leaves here. Look at the immediate reaction from his own inner circle. Ishii Smith, a former world champion under Mayweather Promotions, a guy who knows Floyd intimately, didn't mince words on social media. He said, "People don't come out of retirement for the love of the game at damn near 50. Man's tricked all that money off and needs to come back."
Okay, but Ishii has always been outspoken. He's a critic by nature, especially lately.
But it wasn't just him. Claressa Shields, the GWOAT, who usually defends Floyd to the death, replied to Ishii saying, quote, "I hate to agree with you. When your own protégés and fiercest defenders are looking at this move and seeing financial distress, we absolutely have to pay attention. This isn't just about setting records for Netflix, it's about filling a massive hole in a bank account."
I understand why the gossip from former associates makes for good, clicky headlines. But if we are going to debate this seriously, we need to look at the hard numbers and the actual legal filings. And frankly, the legal situation supports my view that he is fighting for principle and for capital that is rightfully his, not because he's broke.
You're referencing the lawsuit, right?
I am. And honestly, it is the smoking gun of this entire situation.
You mean the $340 million lawsuit Mayweather filed in California against Showtime and Steven Espinoza?
Correct. He is alleging that Showtime and his longtime advisor Al Heyman misappropriated funds and concealed pay-per-view profits over several years. Now, you frame this as a savvy businessman auditing his partners. I frame this as a nuclear option.
How so? You do not file a lawsuit of that magnitude, effectively burning down the bridges with the very people who helped build your empire, unless you are facing a severe liquidity crisis. You just don't sue the hand that fed you for a decade unless you are starving. And hear me out. You file it because $340 million is a staggering amount of money, regardless of how rich you are. Litigation is a tool of the wealthy. If you believe you were shortchanged $1/3 billion, you sue. That doesn't mean you can't buy groceries. It means you want your capital. Floyd has generated $1.67 billion in gross revenue throughout his career. To suggest he is broke is a fundamental misunderstanding of his scale of wealth.
Let's pause on that scale of wealth concept because I think this is where we need to be really precise. There is a massive difference between gross revenue and net liquidity. Yes, the events generated $1.6 billion, but after the IRS takes roughly 40%, after the training camps, the entourage, the private jets, and the promoters take their cut, that number shrinks drastically.
Sure, but it's still hundreds of millions.
But then you factor in the burn rate. Floyd travels with a fleet of luxury cars, huge security details, and an entourage of 30 people. That lifestyle costs millions per month just to maintain the baseline. That is sustainable when you are fighting Canelo or McGregor for $100 million checks. It is absolutely not sustainable when you have been retired from pro bouts for 9 years.
He has significant real estate holdings, though. He has the skyscraper investments in New York. He has the commercial properties in Vegas. Those are massive assets.
Real estate is illiquid. You can be asset rich and cash poor. Business Insider reported specifically on debt and liquidity issues, citing unpaid rent on a Manhattan apartment and disputes with high-end jewelers. When Money May, a man whose entire brand is having literal stacks of cash on hand, is allegedly missing rent payments, that is a flashing red light. And that is exactly why he is risking his brain health against Manny Pacquiao. He needs a liquid injection of cash, fast, to service the debt on those assets.
I think you're conflating cash flow management with bankruptcy. High net worth individuals often have disputes over bills. It's usually about service quality or accounting errors, not an empty bank account. But let's pivot, because even if the money is the primary driver, does it actually matter if the product delivers? The deal with CSI Sports and Fight Sports isn't a payday loan. It's a strategic partnership to distribute his content globally. He is transitioning from a fighter dependent on a premium cable network to a content owner partnering directly with platforms like Netflix. That is a position of incredible strength.
It's a position of necessity disguised as strength. And you mentioned the product. We have to talk about the physical reality here. The narrative that Floyd is timeless is a great marketing slogan, but it is not a medical fact. Mayweather turned 49 yesterday. Manny Pacquiao is 47. This isn't 2015. This isn't even 2020.
But look at how they've aged compared to their peers. They are athletic anomalies.
I am looking, and I'm genuinely worried. If this fight happens in a U.S. jurisdiction, it will likely be regulated by or adhere to the standards of the California State Athletic Commission. Their requirements for fighters over 40 are grueling. We aren't just talking about a basic physical. We are talking about mandatory MRIs of the brain to check for white matter changes. We are talking about cardiac stress tests with specific VO2 max requirements, detailed neurological exams. These regulations were written in blood. They exist because fighting at almost 50 is exponentially more dangerous than fighting at 30. The brain simply does not recover the same way.
And Floyd will pass every single one of those tests with flying colors.
You don't know that. You just hope that.
I know his track record. Floyd Mayweather is arguably the best defensive boxer in the history of the sport. He does not take punishment. That is the key differentiator here. If this was Arturo Gatti coming back at 49, God rest his soul, I would be terrified. But Floyd, he isn't going in there to trade heavy shots. He's going in there to box. Even in his recent exhibitions, look at the Don Moore fight or the Asakura fight in Japan, he showed he is still incredibly sharp. His reflexes are there. His timing is superior to most active pros who are 25 right now.
Exhibitions are theater. There is an unwritten contract in an exhibition that basically says, don't take the old man's head off. You pull your punches. But a sanctioned pro fight against Manny Pacquiao, Pacquiao has immense pride. He has gone on record saying, quote, I want Floyd to live with the one loss on his professional record. That means Pacquiao is coming to hurt him. And frankly, watching a 49-year-old man, even a defensive wizard like Floyd, try to slip punches from a legitimate legend like Pacquiao feels less like a sport and more like a high-wire act without a net. One mistimed slip, one slow reaction, and it's lights out.
See, I think you are severely underestimating Floyd's discipline. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he practically lives in the gym. The motto is, he stays ready so he doesn't have to get ready. And regarding the quality of the fight, remember the first one in 2015? Pacquiao claims he had a torn rotator cuff. Now he's fully healthy. Mayweather says, I already fought and beat Manny once. This time will be the same result. The rivalry absolutely warrants a definitive conclusion. Gabe Spitzer, the VP of sports at Netflix, put it perfectly. He said, they are the two hardest workers in boxing, and this is a full circle moment. This isn't just two old guys sparring at the local YMCA. This is the inauguration of the sphere for boxing.
And that brings us to the spectacle of it all. You keep mentioning the sphere and Netflix as if the broadcasting platform validates the athletic integrity of the match.
It validates the cultural importance. This is going to be the Super Bowl of nostalgia. The sphere is the most advanced visual venue on the planet. Imagine the immersive graphics, the sound design. It elevates the sport. It makes it bigger than life. I'm genuinely excited for this.
It turns the sport into a circus. And speaking of circuses, we haven't even touched on the preamble to all this. Before he fights Pacquiao, he is fighting Mike Tyson in an exhibition this spring. Mike Tyson is 59 years old.
And the entire world will watch. You cannot look me in the eye and tell me you aren't curious.
I'm not curious, I'm concerned. There is a 60-pound weight difference. Tyson is nearly 60, Mayweather is nearly 50. It's completely absurd. Even Conor McGregor, who knows a thing or two about selling fights, reacted to this news by saying Floyd beats him easy, but he also called it bank busting. When Conor McGregor, the absolute king of the combat sports cash grab, calls your move bank busting, he's implying it's a robbery of the fans. It lacks sporting integrity. It feels like a video game simulation gone totally wrong.
I strongly disagree with the robbery characterization. Fans know exactly what they are buying. They aren't buying a 1998 Prime title fight. They are buying a moment in history. To see Tyson and Mayweather share the ring, even in an exhibition, is surreal. And then to follow it up with a sanctioned bout against Pacquiao, that is a brilliant narrative arc. It's almost like a season of premium television, which makes perfect sense because it's on Netflix. Mayweather is transitioning from being purely an athlete to being a content creator on the absolute highest level. He's protecting his legacy by staying relevant in the modern streaming era.
Staying relevant or staying solvent? I just cannot get past the risk. The exhibitions have been messy lately. Look at the John Gotti III fight. It ended in a massive brawl, a literal riot in the ring. It wasn't the sweet science. It was chaos. Now you put him in with a heavyweight like Tyson, and then a motivated Pacquiao. If Mayweather gets hurt, seriously hurt, because he needed a check to pay off a lawsuit or satisfy creditors, that isn't a legacy victory. That is a tragedy.
But that is a massive hypothetical. We have to operate on the evidence of his skills. He has never been seriously hurt in the ring in 50 professional fights. He is the ultimate master of self-preservation. And let's look at the business side of the Netflix deal again. This is likely one of the most lucrative broadcasting deals in sports history. You don't get that deal if you are washed up. You get that deal if you are a global icon. He is opening a completely new revenue stream that didn't exist when he retired in 2017. That is financial brilliance.
It's brilliance born of sheer necessity. I'll grant you, the Netflix deal is huge. But the fact that he has to go back to professional fighting, putting that sacred 50-0 record on the line, tells me the exhibition money simply wasn't enough anymore. He needs the real fight money. He needs the sanctioned bout purse. That implies the hole in the finances is deeper than anyone realizes.
If he just wanted quick money, he could keep boxing YouTubers for $20 million a pop. To fight Pacquiao, he must need $100 million.
Or it implies that he wants to reach 51-0. He wants to remind the world one last time who TBE, the best ever, really is. He wants to separate himself from Rocky Marciano even further.
51-0 against a 47-year-old, that doesn't add to the legacy. It's an asterisk. It's like Michael Jordan coming back to play for the Wizards, but if the Wizards were playing in a senior league.
Beating Manny Pacquiao is never an asterisk. Pacquiao is active. He's fighting Ruslan Pravdandikov in April. He's not sitting on the couch eating potato chips. And doing it at the Sphere? That's iconic.
Let's talk about the venue for a moment. The Sphere. It's immersive. It's highly visual. It's perfect for a spectacle. I agree with you there. But does it distract from the fact that the two men in the ring are moving at half the speed they did in 2009?
I really don't think they will be moving at half speed. Pacquiao's recent training footage looks remarkably explosive. Mayweather is literally always in shape, and the visual experience of the Sphere will enhance the drama. It's not distracting, it's elevating. It's making boxing feel like a video game, like a movie. That attracts a younger demographic that might not know Mayweather from his prime in 2005, but they know him from TikTok and these recent exhibitions. He is expanding the fan base.
Expanding the fan base to witness what exactly? A glorified sparring session or a sad decline? That's my primary worry. When you look at the greats, Ali, Robinson, Leonard, their final fights were deeply painful to watch. They didn't have the Sphere or Netflix to dress it up, but they had the exact same motivation, money, and it rarely ended well. Ishi Smith said it best, that's not how boxing works. You don't cheat the game forever. The bill always comes due, physically.
But if anyone can cheat Father Time, it's Floyd Mayweather. He has defied every single odd thrown at him since he was a teenager. If he says he has what it takes to set records, I am highly inclined to believe the man who has been right about his own career for 30 years.
He's been right about his career inside the ring, but has he been right about his finances outside of it? That's the wedge here. The lawsuit against Showtime alleges they concealed funds. If he loses that lawsuit, or if it drags on for years in discovery, which these things absolutely do, he needs this Pacquiao fight just to fund the legal war. It's a vicious cycle. He fights to pay lawyers to sue the people who used to pay him to fight.
That is a very cynical view. I view it as he fights because he is a fighter. It's fundamentally who he is. And he sues because he is a sharp businessman who demands total accountability. These two things can absolutely coexist without one being a symptom of ruin.
I suppose we will see when the opening bell rings. But the risk-reward ratio seems skewed heavily toward risk this time around.
It seems we're in a bit of an impasse on the true motivation, but united in the fact that it is a undeniably massive event. We're reaching the end of our time, so let's try to summarize where we stand on this monumental return.
I stand right where I started, perhaps even more firmly now. The lights of the Sphere will be bright, and the Netflix cameras will be in gorgeous high definition. But I cannot shake the feeling that this return is driven by the dark cloud of lawsuits and liquidity crises. As Ishi Smith and Claressa Shields hinted, you don't unretire at 49 for the pure love of the game. You do it because the math doesn't add up anymore. I fear we are watching a tragedy unfold in 4K resolution.
And I maintain that we are witnessing the final masterful act of the greatest showman in sports history. Floyd Mayweather is an entertainer and a brilliant businessman. By partnering with Netflix and opening the Sphere to professional boxing, he is securing his legacy as an innovator. He is protecting his name by beating his greatest rival, Pacquiao, one more time. As he said, I already fought and beat Manny once. This time will be the same result. He is fighting for glory and, yes, for gold. But that is exactly what Money Mayweather has always done.
Glory or gold? The line is thinner than ever.
Indeed it is. Whether it is a desperate gamble or a calculated conquest, one thing is absolutely certain. The entire world will be watching on September 19. Thank you for joining the debate.
Thank you.